The air inside this reclaimed substation hums with the deep thrum of tube amps, a low current carrying stories. Patched cables coil like watchful serpents across the concrete floor, leading to a console adorned with hand-labeled vinyl and Xeroxed protest zines. Anansi's custom meters glow with a steady pulse, reflecting the city's unseen frequencies. Kaelin taps the antenna like it's coaxing a reluctant spirit.
Black Star Pirate Radio.
Across Liberdade, the dial sits at 56 Fahrenheit under smoky haze. Winds are moving from the north at 4 miles per hour.
Concrete facts. Reports confirm at least 15 civilians killed and dozens injured in a drone strike on the Mayo Internally Displaced Persons, IDP camp, south of Khartoum last week. This follows a pattern of aerial assaults by the Rapid Support Forces, RSF, and the Sudanese Armed Forces since April, leading to over 12,000 deaths and displacement of 7.2 million people. These attacks, often indiscriminate, disproportionately affect the 2.8 million people displaced since April, who lack safe zones and become targets of a relentless conflict, turning their very sanctuary into a battlefield. The UN's concern, while noted, highlights the chasm between diplomatic statements and the escalating humanitarian catastrophe on the ground.
This isn't just news, it's a brutal interruption of communal memory. Imagine families in Mayo Camp already stripped of homes, now watching the very air they breathe become a weapon. Who carries the story of those lost children to the next generation when their present is so violently erased, their ancestral lands turned into a shooting range? This isn't just a military tactic, it's an assault on the inherent structural self-worth of a community. An attempt to make their very existence contingent on external powers. It's the ancient myth of a vengeful sky god, made manifest with modern technology, denying the earthbound their fundamental right to simply be.
Patching in a caller, the skeptic. You're on the signal.
This is Aisha from Sector 2. We hear deeply concerned from the UN, but what's the actual cost of just being concerned? Who is paying for the lack of concrete action to protect those people in Sudan, beyond the immediate victims on the ground?
Aisha, the price of inaction is etched into the very fabric of human dignity and the structural integrity of international law. Beyond the immediate victims, the cost is borne by the global perception of justice, the erosion of humanitarian principles, and the dangerous precedent that civilian lives are disposable in modern conflict. It signals a failure in our collective architecture of protection, where the inherent autonomy and self-worth of vulnerable communities are treated as negotiable. The transmitter pops once, adjusts, holds, ozone drift, the signal is still here.
Discernment. The signal of concern is not the signal of action.
Precisely, Kaelin. From skies weaponized to resources weaponized, the blueprints of control are everywhere. Let's pivot to New Zealand, where the ground itself is becoming a contested space. In Aotearoa, the digital future collides with community trust, as a data center proposal raises more questions than it answers.
Concrete facts. The DataGrid project in Southland aims for a massive 150-megawatt hyperscale data center, New Zealand's first. Located near Makarewa, it's projected to consume 150,000 liters of water per day for cooling, sourced from the Oreti River, and will draw significant power from the national grid, primarily hydroelectric. Locals are alarmed by the projected demands on their power grid, diverting renewable energy from local use, potential noise pollution from cooling towers, and increased traffic. Who's exposed? Farmers, indigenous communities like Ngāi Tahu, whose ancestral lands and waters are affected, and local businesses in Invercargill, facing resource strain and a lack of clear benefit beyond corporate profit, while the environmental impact is externalized onto the region.
It's a story as old as colonization. Land, water, and sovereignty taken for progress. Here, it's digital colonization, cloaked in the language of innovation. Imagine the Waihopai Valley, a place of significant Maori ancestral connection, becoming a silent, humming fortress of servers, demanding precious resources, while offering no cultural reciprocity, no real stake for the Tangata Whenua. It's a violation of Kaitiakitanga, the sacred guardianship of land and water. The architectural blueprint here is one of extraction, where the inherent value of the land and its people is made subservient to the data demands of distant, unseen entities, stripping away local autonomy and dignity.
The current path prioritizes external corporate infrastructure over local ecological balance and community needs, undermining the principle of consent over shared resources. An alternative would require comprehensive, independent environmental and cultural impact assessments that are genuinely community-led, not merely consulted upon. Furthermore, a mandate for community-owned equity in the project, potentially through a trust, would ensure local benefits and provide a structural pathway for shared provenance of this digital infrastructure. Our next move is to support local groups like our Water o Murihiku in demanding a binding referendum on the data grid proposal, ensuring direct consent for this significant architectural shift, and empowering the community to assert its sovereign right over its own resources. Lines open. Patching in a caller. Go ahead.
This is Mark, just north of the city. So, New Zealand gets a data center. Who really benefits from all that data storage? And who ends up paying for the environmental impact and the power grid stress? Is it just big tech companies, while locals get the bill?
Mark, you've hit on a critical architectural flaw: the asymmetry of benefit. The primary beneficiaries are often multinational tech giants and their shareholders, who profit from data storage and processing, while the environmental and social costs are externalized onto the local community. This undermines the dignity of self-determination, turning communities into passive hosts for global infrastructure rather than active, consenting partners. It's a reminder that true progress must integrate logic, economic growth, with emotion, community well-being, and environmental stewardship as complementary vectors, not competing forces.
A digital Trojan horse silently consuming the landscape while promising an unseen future.
From the digital drain in New Zealand, we turn to Cuba, where the very light of daily life is being repeatedly extinguished, exposing a different kind of structural vulnerability. The rhythm of life in Cuba is repeatedly fractured by darkness, a systemic collapse that punishes daily existence.
Concrete facts: Cuba experienced its third nationwide blackout in 6 months, plunging all 11 million residents into darkness. The grid, reliant on aging thermoelectric plants, some over 60 years old like the Antonio Guterres in Matanzas, is buckling under chronic fuel shortages, a lack of spare parts, and decades of deferred maintenance. This is further exacerbated by the U.S. embargo, which restricts access to essential equipment and financing. Hospitals struggle to maintain critical care, food storage fails, and basic communications for the entire population are severely compromised, leading to a profound humanitarian crisis that impacts every aspect of daily life, from education to hygiene.
Imagine the vibrant street life, the music, the conversations, all swallowed by an abrupt, recurring void. This isn't just a power cut. It's a chronic trauma to the social fabric, a daily assault on dignity, forcing families to cook on wood fires and leaving elders without AC and tropical heat. It's a repetition of imposed hardship where the people carry the weight of broken infrastructure and geopolitical tensions. This cycle of darkness isn't just about electricity. It's a symbolic suppression of the human spirit, a constant reminder of external forces dictating the very light of their lives, eroding their autonomy, like Sisyphus pushing a boulder up a hill, only for it to roll back down in the dark.
The current system offers no sustainable solution, trapping citizens in a cycle of dark despair, undermining their fundamental right to reliable infrastructure and dignity. An alternative would involve a rapid, internationally backed investment in decentralized solar microgrids and wind power, directly managed by local communities. This approach bypasses the centralized, failing grid and offers energy provenance, allowing neighborhoods to assert control over their own light. For a next move, we advocate for a Light for Cuba initiative, using open-source solar solutions and direct aid channels to empower neighborhoods to build their own resilient energy architectures, asserting energy provenance and fostering a new civic architecture of self-reliance. Callers on, go ahead.
This is Carla. I'm hearing about Cuba's blackouts. Who is responsible for these repeated failures? And what's the long-term cost for the average Cuban family struggling through these agony conditions?
Carla, the burden of systemic failure always lands heaviest on the individual. And in Cuba, responsibility is a complex, tangled mess of internal decay and external pressure. Domestically, decades of underinvestment and mismanagement have weakened the infrastructure. Externally, the US embargo acts as a constant, suffocating force, severely limiting access to crucial resources for repair and modernization. The long-term cost for the average Cuban family is profound. Chronic stress, health impacts, educational disruption, economic stagnation, and a pervasive sense of being trapped. It's an architectural assault on their autonomy and dignity, forcing them to constantly adapt and suffer under conditions that strip away their fundamental right to a stable, functioning society.
Humor, then clarity. The joke is on those who think control breeds stability. It only builds resentment.
Carla, the threads connect. Whether it's the right to safe skies, the right to local resources, or the right to reliable light, these are fundamental architectural elements of dignity. We stand for consent, provenance, and dignity in all these structures.
Teach through play.
Black Star Pirate Radio.
Continue the signal at TogeeVision.com. Tune in, Sparks and Stories, Gig Passport.